I'm Van.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Jalpy and Ghosty. Chip.
Entombed. The Left-Hand Path. What's that title? I think that title took everything it was supposed to do.
Huh?
Entombed. Look at the title.
Oh, yeah. It took it. It just can't fit everything.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is from the True Cult. This is from the most mysterious alliance that we have in our...
We do or do not know if Damon Sage is still a part of it.
We don't even know the identity of Mr. Damon Sage. His name is probably like...
You know, he was probably a creation of Zonia, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
She's probably got some AI thing going on, and she's testing it out on us.
I didn't even think of that. That's a pretty good... It's also scary as hell.
Illuminati confirmed!
Illuminati confirmed!
So anyway, this is the True Cult. Picked this song.
They're the black metal group in the...
This is a death metal song.
Okay.
The band is from Sweden. These guys helped to pioneer the sound of what has come to be known as Swedish death metal with their album Left-Hand Path from 1990, which led the whole Swedish death metal boom and a long list of copycats thereafter. Interesting.
Okay, so these guys are the... I like it when we hear like the originators of like a certain genre.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, I like to hear it and say, would this have inspired me or not?
For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. I think by the time you're watching this, we'll have a not so controversial video up, and you can see why the big homie Adar says that I'm the single most infuriating individual on the internet, and why Peter says I'm a difficult individual to love. Yep. But we're going to have some guests, some very, very important guests on the
super cool
on this episode. So I encourage you to check it out. And then, of course, we've got a slew of Patreon behind the scenes into our life update videos coming. So be on the lookout for that, patrons. Okay, this is...
Have you figured out how to split up the Super Saiyan Sori?
I've pretty much figured out how to split it up, yes.
Okay.
It's a little bit difficult doing it on the phone, but I figured it out.
Okay.
Left-Hand Path, Entombed, let's go.
Also, you know what I figured out? If the cord is always on the outside, then it's always on right. You put your cord on the outside, and I put mine on the outside, and we don't have to every video.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
And go.
Brighten it up a little bit, shall we?
I totally agree. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me that they kind of started something. Because when I hear this, you know, I'm not obviously like a huge death metal person, but I definitely, this was inspiring, I thought. And I love what they did in that middle piece. Well,
Yeah,
the middle
I don't
toward
know
the
if that
end
was
where they
a
like.
keyboard or what.
I was like, whoa, okay.
I don't know if that was a keyboard or what, but that was really, really good. Mm-hmm. And then they combined it with the heavy parts all the way to the end. That was tight. That was really, really tight. It was good musicianship. Left Hand Path, I think, is I'm actually in a Left Hand Path group on Facebook.
Really?
Yeah, we are actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's on the Vin and Sori?
Yeah, one of them just had a kid. He's pretty happy. Mashallah Tabaraka, by the way, big guy. Just had a kid. He was pretty happy. So that's awesome. What?
It's just funny. So, what is this Left Hand Path?
It's I'm pretty sure it's LaVey, and it's more like atheistic Satanism, where Satan is sort of like an archetypical figure, not a literal figure. You know, like in Vatain, where Satan's like a literal being and all that. This band, it's like this philosophy is like Satan is an archetypical figure of ultimate rebellion against God, and God isn't real, Satan isn't real. It's about self-empowerment.
Okay.
So you just
so wait a minute. What are you rebelling against then?
Well, religion and the oppressive,
But even though religion is not real?
Well, no. Religion is real.
The basis of religion is not real?
The basis of religion isn't real. That's why he says what man's created, man can destroy.
Oh, okay.
Which he's talking about religion. Saying we created it so we can destroy it. And then he's looking forward to a day when there will be no religion.
Can you not go so fast? Right here. I dip my forefinger in the watery blood of your impotent Redeemer and write on his thorn-torn brow the true Prince of Evil.
Yeah.
So they don't believe in Jesus either?
Well, it appears that he's looking at Jesus as the true Prince of Evil. Of course, if there is no God, there's no logical way to say anything is good or evil.
Oh, yeah.
So it's one of these things where you keep slipping back into a worldview that cannot function.
Yeah, I was going to say it can't sustain itself without a God figure.
Yeah, you constantly have to borrow from a certain type of worldview, but then the basis from which that worldview is built, you want to throw away. So it's like you want to rob somebody's mansion, but then there's there's no foundation in the mansion. The thing is going to collapse. I mean, look, man, nobody here. Okay, so when anytime I hear this stuff, I always look at it from two perspectives, right? One perspective is to say, has religion been an oppressive force in the world? And when I say religion, we're on the western side of the planet, especially these Swedes. Yes, obviously. And, as obviously we're Protestants, we're not going to say, well, it's the Catholics, and we were great. I mean, it wasn't the Catholics that had the Salem witch trials in New England.
Right.
It was Protestants that were doing that. Sorry. So there's been a lot of evil associated with religion and oppression, and I think the other thing that's interesting is what people call sin. A lot of folks from this perspective are to say, look, man, this is just a basic human inclination. So you're basically penalizing people for their natural instincts, right? And so to them, they're looking at it as freedom to revel in all their natural instincts. And the only thing I would have to say is, okay, do you want to live in a world where that's brought out to its rational conclusion? Because, for example, like I said, I've got a friend in this satanic forum who just had a baby, right? And so would you want to live in a world where a person says, look, my natural instinct is as a hunter-gatherer, and my natural instinct is to consume as much property as I possibly can. So I'm going to go into your house and kill everybody in your family and take all your stuff. And if you tell me that that's bad to do, now you're suppressing my natural instincts. Because this is literally what human beings have been doing since the inception of human beings.
Right.
You have whole... I was just listening to Jocko Willink and Jordan Peterson talking about warfare and the type of men that Jocko was talking about. He loved warfare. He loved it. And there's a joke in teams where it's like, well, SEAL teams are jail or prison, because it gives you, if you have that type of disposition, and there are literally millions of men across the planet, that if you have that type of inclination, warfare allows you to go and express that without getting in trouble. And then, people, the government can have all their little justifications. Those guys don't care about that, man. They want to go fight. I know after prior to 9/11, I became obsessed with the Ranger Battalion. So like 2 years before 9/11, I was watching the History Channel. I was just watching the history of the Ranger Bat, watching everything that Rangers were doing, and I was like obsessed with Army Rangers. And then 9/11 happened. It just so happened that I was literally next door sharing a wall with a Navy SEAL, and the guy had just gotten out, and then 4 months later 9/11 happened. So
did he go back in?
No, he was in Grenada.
Oh.
Which means that he was done.
Oh, okay.
He couldn't have, even if he wanted to.
Oh, okay.
But he would talk, and he wasn't one of those guys. He was just doing it to like test himself, and he was talking about how the first time he had his rifle scoped on a bad guy, and they were like, shoot him, and he hesitated because he wasn't that type of individual. And people think that, but my point is, there are people who love that shit. That's their natural inclination. You can say, that's not, no, I've known these people. I've known them. I'm not saying every person in the military, I'm not saying every SF person, definitely not saying every SEAL is that way. I just explained one who wasn't. But I'm also telling you that I have met tons of dudes who, that's how they are. Same thing with Marine Corps. That's what they want to do. They find ways to get themselves in violent situations. I think it was Restrepo, where the guy was talking about having to make peace with God for killing all these people, and the guy was like, well, it was self-defense. Obviously. I'm like, what are you talking about? And the guy goes, yeah. He goes, well, why did I sign up for that MOS?
Yeah. Yes.
Because he got it, right? So I'm sorry, you can't tell me that there aren't people that love to. Okay, so who are you to say that they shouldn't be able to exercise their? Just think about this. Don't try to argue with me. Yada yada yada. Just let's think together rationally about this. If you're saying that it is wrong to tell people to suppress their natural inclinations, or that there are certain arenas where your natural inclinations are not good to express, and there are certain inclinations where it is good. So, for example, I'll take it away from violence and put it to sexuality. Christianity, particularly Christianity, does not say that sexuality is bad. There's an entire book in the Bible that celebrates sexuality in some very graphic terms. But what it says is that should be channeled in a specific theater, and if you do it otherwise, it's destructive. Okay? If you say that's oppressive, then are you sure that you want to go there? Have you seen the Discovery Channel? The male lion doesn't take the female lion out for a date. He just says, hey, it's heat, we're in heat, so you're a female, I'm a male, and I'm going to pass on my genetics and yada yada yada. So everybody believes at some level that there should be a governor on inclinations.
Yeah.
You take a guy who loves violence and things like that, you say, okay, join a gym, join the UFC, be a boxer, go to war. And then you can express it in that theater, but don't do it to a normal person. Right. And for the majority of human history, this is what Peterson was talking about and Jocko was talking about, and this is just a fact. For the majority of human history, there have been little to no governors. There was no UN, there were peace accords, there was no Geneva Convention, there was none of that stuff for the vast majority of human experience. And so the vast majority of what we've tried to do to each other is take each other's property and land. That's 99. Sorry, I know people want to say that it's religion that's the cause of wars. No, go to any sociologist, they'll tell you 99% of jihad from the beginning of time to current has been about allocating and taking people's resources. Why did so I mean, the last century was not about, World War II was not about religion. It was about people, you had a group of people trying to take everybody's resources and eliminate other people. The inclination for resources and the inclination for violence, they took out a bunch of millions and millions of people died because there was no governor. So, so I just think that anytime I hear this stuff, on the one hand, I'm like, yes, of course, you're reacting to what's going on with religion and how oppressive religious people have been. But on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, but you're just trading one form of oppression for another, because in this type of world, only the strong will be able to survive. If you're really just going by, I'm going to go by my inclinations and whatever.
Is that what he said? Where did he say go by your inclinations?
Well, it's the entire point of the left-hand path is what I'm saying, and I am my own God.
Master, slave,
I mean, the opening line is, I'm my own God.
I carry my own will and make my day. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah,
no one will take my soul away. You know, master. He's his own master. He's his own slave.
It's interesting because he says, "I am my own God. I see the truth beyond."
Right.
I mean, it's just an interesting line going by what you just said there. It's like, well,
and again, you know, you have no epistemological basis for saying anything about the truth if God doesn't exist. So it's one of those things where it's like, I wish, because I every time I do one of these, I always check the comment section. There's always some emotional reaction. It's like, no, just think it through logically. Like, where is the governor in this worldview? Yeah, I talk about the movie The Purge a lot because it's very instructive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know what the genre is, if it's a thriller or if it's a horror, but I'm pretty sure The Purge is probably in the horror genre. Well, why is it so horrific? When you pull out the legal governors, that especially in the Western world, those laws are based, many of them are based on a Judeo-Christian ethic. Why is it such a horrifying reality when you suspend that for one day? That's the crazy thing about The Purge. It's like one day, isn't it?
I know. Yeah, it was
one day. And
actually, I think it was just one night.
And it's just horrifying.
When the sun rises, that's when it stops.
And it's completely horrifying. It's a horrifying world to live in.
And the thing is, like, if I just saw the movie, then I would be like, no, people aren't really like that. But like, we had conversation. Remember that time we were sitting with that mom?
Oh yeah.
And she was basically saying she would love to murder somebody, but she can't because she doesn't want to get in trouble for it. I was like, what? What? And it wasn't even...
Shoot, dead serious?
It didn't even sound like... Maybe I misread the situation, but it didn't sound like... You know when somebody's like angry and they say something irrational because they're angry? It didn't sound like one of those. It just sounded like, yeah, I would like to do that, but I just don't want to go to jail.
She had come to a moment of self-awareness. She had multiple kids.
Yeah.
And she was just dead straight and whatever. And
yeah. That was a pretty scary moment because, I don't know, it surprised me, but at the same time... I thought, you know, there's going to be lots of people that have had thoughts like that, but they just don't say it out loud.
Well, I mean, that's you know, when I bring up the website, you know, drhearn.com, the guy, the evil bastard over there in Colorado that dissects babies 8-9 months old along, and people can't believe it, and then they go to the website, and he's talking about killing these kids. Down syndrome, done. 8-9 months along. There's a lot. I mean, that's one of the reasons that the abortion industry continues, is because of the ignorance, most of it willful, of people. So they go there, and there's no gestational limits in Colorado, ladies and gentlemen. So this guy talks about killing these kids at 8-9 months, and they go, "Well, yeah, that's I'm uncomfortable with that," and then they go on with their day.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that's the thing. It's like I think like this to me is just a cannibalistic worldview. It's a worldview that to me cannot... You have to actually rely on Judeo-Christian structures to live this way. Because if you took those structures away, nobody would be alive. And some of this relies on the inherent sort of goodness and mutual understanding of other people. A lot of this really, you know... comes down, I forgot which philosopher it was. It's just he basically said, I rejected God because of my sexual inclinations. And a lot of this, you know, comes down to, you know, and then the whole concept, I'm sorry, this whole concept that you're your own God and no one will take my soul away. Like, one of the most amazing lines from a Jonathan Edwards sermon. It wasn't
weird to me.
It wasn't Jonathan Edwards. It wasn't Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, but Jonathan Edwards was talking about the frailty of human life, and he said, "Why, a spider could make you expire." Like, life is so fragile that this idea that you're your own God, when you can be undone by a spider, or you can be undone by too many peanuts in your ice cream or whatever. Like, you can literally die for, was it Rachel Held Evans went in for a cold or something like that, and then that was the end of her. Like, there's
so many people have died this year just because of the flu.
The flu, like a microscopic, you can't even see it. This idea that we're like the masters of our own destiny is absolutely ridiculous to me. Like, you know, Invictus is I am the commander. You know, this idea. When you're young, you have all these ideas about, your invincibility. And things of that nature. And I get it. I think, again, this is about, he's not saying I'm invincible. What he's saying is I make my own way. But he does say no one will take my soul away. I'm sorry, my guy, a spider, a snake, a microscopic
a drive to the grocery store. There's so many things that can...
Yeah, and
a patch of ice that you slip wrong on. Like, there's just so many things that it's just...
Some stupid 16-year-old kid that got he got his license for the first time and is drinking a fifth of vodka to impress his girlfriend, can take you out. Like, what are you talking about? Like, to me, it just... So, on the one hand, like, I get it, like, because here's the irony for me from a Christian perspective. It's like, the self-determination, this idea that I am not supposed to live as an oppressed person is actually a good inclination. God is never, God is systemically, from Genesis to Revelation, against oppressive people. And the reason for that is that we're creating the image and likeness of God. So I don't care who it is, whether it's a religious person or a political figure, like... if you look at what's going on with the Catholic stuff, and these guys are sending all these priests all over the place, but again, that's their natural inclination. Should they feel guilty about it? I don't know how guilt works in a, this is probably like an actual discussion I would actually, because I agree.
That was a very interesting discussion.
I do debates and stuff like that, like, but that's not where I'm going, like. I mean, I can do that, but what I want to know is like where does a moral framework happen in a system like this? So if you're watching this and you are a left-hand path person specifically, I'm not talking about Satanism because there's different denominations within it, just like with Christianity. But if you hold this view specifically, email me, vinandsori@gmail.com, and we can set up an actual discussion. And I don't know where we'll publish the video either. We'll probably publish it here. It's gonna mess with the algorithm, but who cares? Because I really want to know, because there's gotta be, because I'm sure I'm not the first one that's asked this question. I'm sure even in it was like, what happened when we watched that Satanist video, the Hail Satan thing that we watched.
Oh yeah.
Where the girl, it was like, hey, do your own thing, yada yada yada, and then
she did her own thing, and then
she did her own thing, and then they
associated with you.
They excommunicated her, just like the Christians would.
Yeah.
And she was like, I was too extreme for the Satanists. Like, so obviously, even in that documentary, there was some like, whoa, wait a second here.
Let's draw some lines.
But the implication was basically, we say do whatever you want, but you should have known better.
Let's talk about killing the president.
Yeah, you should have known, but why not? So honestly, if you're, and again, I don't want to debate, and you guys can see the other channel, like, I am not afraid of debate at all. I just genuinely, because I've seen a couple of these, I genuinely want to have an understanding of
where you're coming from,
and what you mean by this, etc., etc. So there you go. I'm going to post this in that left-hand path thing and see if anybody will want to have a discussion.
Yeah, good call.
What do you give the song?
Actually, this is another 9.8 for me.
Yeah, it's a 9.
I thought it was really good.
Points. Honestly, this thing was 6 minutes long. I wish it would have been a little bit longer. I'd have liked to explore some more heaviness with that. What do you call it? The not piano, but whatever interesting. So I would have liked to have seen more. Some more experimentation with the keys, but really, really good song. There you are, Satanist. Hit me up. vinandsori@gmail.com. And just say Left Hand Path, and then we'll have a discussion. Maybe we'll have like 2 or 3, and then we can all have like a little panel, and because I'm sure we can have an intelligent adult discussion about it. All right, guys. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.